What do you say, everybody? And welcome to Monday Quarterback with the quarterback himself, Jake Coker. I'm Mick Gillispie. Great to hang out with you guys right here on WNSP Mobile, coming at you from the Montrose Studios. And always glad to have Jake Coker on the line. Jake, we got a lot to talk about on this week's show. I got to be honest with you. I've been disappointed in sports before. But it really hasn't been Alabama a lot, with the performances that Alabama's had over the years. The Oklahoma game, a 24-3 loss. It's not just that the Alabama team lost. I just can't remember a worse game. And I say that in so many different areas. Is that a crazy statement?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like we don't have a whole lot to talk about. I mean, to be honest with you, going into this game, I was nervous about it. Brent Venables, the guy, he knows how to play defense. He knows how to get his teams in the right position and win ball games with a defensive mindset. And he did it Saturday night. I call it one pick six. It's really, they basically had two pick sixes, two touchdowns off turnovers. And to me, that was the difference in the game. And they did a lot to confuse Jalen. And when they pressured, man, they pressured. And even when they didn't bring extra guys, those guys off the edge they were coming, and we could not find a way to stop them. So, that was really their Super Bowl. You saw how they reacted after the game. They came to play, and honestly, we just didn't.
Yeah, I think that's a good way of putting it. And when you do this, as much as you want to praise Alabama, there's a lot of criticism in my mind with this performance in so many different areas. First off, I thought the game plan was terrible. I mean, you got a team on one side of the football that has no wide receivers. They even had another guy get hurt. Look at did you see the list of wide receivers that were missing from that team? So you know that they're not going to be sitting there throwing the football. And then they don't have like a conventional running quarterback. The guy could run a little bit, but it wasn't like having Jalen Milroe out there, Jalen Hurts, or Blake Sims. I mean, this guy, it's like he just kind of ran. I mean, student body left, student body right. Alabama had no answers. I thought the defensive game plan looked a lot like the Vandy game, and that's not good enough. And then on offense, I guess we can kind of break it down both ways, but I thought on offense, the team looked pathetic, at times. And I know, look, there's a lot of you guys that are going to want to talk about that official. This is on radio, so I'm not going to say what we talked about or some of the choice words I used Saturday on the Cover Crimson YouTube channel, but we'll get into that. And I get that part of it, but I mean, I give them an F. I think the game plan on both sides of the ball was an F, and they couldn't make adjustments.
Well, I think, it's kind of hard for me that defensively, they really they scored 10 points on drives. I mean, if I remember right, they scored 10 points on drives and, longer drives. I felt like two of those touchdowns, we teed it up for them. Having said that, we still could not dominate the line of scrimmage on defense. And again, like you said, we knew it was coming and we couldn't stop it. And I think that quarterback, who's not known for, dominating the game on the ground, had 25 rushes for 130 yards, something to that effect. I can't really point to. I don't know if there's really a positive aspect to this game, and I've talked about how much I really do. I love Kalen DeBoer. I really like Kane Womack. It's their first year, and I honestly, at the beginning of the year, I didn't expect us to be looking at 10-2 in the playoffs. So I know it's always ugly for a first-year head coach. This one was, prettier than it could have been. Obviously, a lot of black eyes during the season, but You just got to give them time and evaluate at the right time. I'd love to see, I don't know, just more fight out of this team. We came out flat. We let them dominate us. It was like we were just okay with it. It's just very hard to watch. And to be honest with you, when the flag was thrown on that touchdown, it's kind of when I lost a lot of focus on watching that game.
Yeah, right.
It was. I haven't seen us be dominated that way in a long time, and I haven't really seen us not fight back and try to get back into a ball game. And so it's kind of turned into. Look, we need to try to win every game on the schedule. This at this point, this is part of your legacy. This is as a player at Alabama, some of these guys won't be back. This is not the way you want to be remembered as an Alabama football player. Leaving out with a loss to Oklahoma in that fashion, and then you still have Auburn left. You get blown out like that against Oklahoma, then you lose to Auburn. That leaves a bad taste in everybody's mouths, and these guys need to figure it out pretty quick.
Yeah, we're going to get into that Auburn game later on because as bad as DeBoer's been at one thing and one thing only, he's been bad at handling success. And we've talked about it on every show that we've done, whether it's the Bama Tailgate show, which we talked to Mike about it when he was on. We talked to Tom Abraham from up in North Alabama about it when he was on. We talked to people about the thing that I feel like is a big issue for Kalen DeBoer that he's going to have to figure out with his coaching staff and teams is handling success. And Nick Saban was the best at it. And we're going to always compare Kalen DeBoer to Nick Saban, unfortunately. I mean, he just replaced him, and people have grown accustomed to Nick Saban. He's the best ever. He's obviously not Kalen DeBoer. Kalen DeBoer's still a good coach. But this is an area where, in my opinion, Alabama has got to improve. And I don't – you played for Nick Saban. How did he do it? Because we didn't have these letdowns.
Well, first off, to me, the game plan, when we talk about the game plan, obviously the goal is to establish a run game and dominate on the ground, just grind out the game. And early on, I could just tell, the intermediate passing game was not there. I mean, our guys just aren't on the same page. They're just not. I don't think that everybody is dialed in and playing with timing and efficiency and knowing where each other are going to be. I think we have the basic idea down, but the details of route running and throwing it when the ball needs to be there, I think we're a little rough around the edges there, and I think it creates problems with us if we can't run the ball. And if you can't nickel and dime the ball down the field and be consistent in that intermediate pass game, then you're really going to struggle if you can't run the ball, because you can't hit home runs all game. You gotta have guys you can count on and get the ball to. I think Jeremy Bernard's the most reliable guy out there. But these other guys gotta get it together and really figure out how to run routes with timing and precision. Now, having said that, these games that aren't big games, every time we played somebody, when I was playing for Coach Saban, every time we played somebody that wasn't on our level talent-wise, but when that week of practice started, I just knew we were restarting a practice at least once. And Coach Saban was coming out the gate with his hair on fire. You better have your shoes tied and your shirt tucked in, and then you better be saying yes, sir, and running full speed, because if you weren't, again, practice was getting restarted, and you're going to do things the right way. And again, I'm not saying that coaching is the reason we played bad this week. I think it's a very tough scenario. Again, Coach DeBoer's known these guys for 6 or 8 months. this is his first time in the SEC. I don't care what anybody says. Playing at Washington, you got a few big games a year, and the teams that you play that aren't very good are far below what your average to lower tier SEC team is. And so you really, really got to be dialed in every week in the SEC. You watch Florida and Ole Miss this week. Florida looks like a different team now. A lot of the Arkansas a few weeks ago, they hang close with Texas and they'll beat you when you're not prepared for them. There's so many good teams and it's so different from any other conference. I think it's going to take a little time for Kalen DeBoer to adjust to that as well. And again, you can say, we prepare for any team the same way, but that's not always true. And so it's just there's a big learning curve coming from anywhere else other than the SEC into the SEC, in my opinion.
Right. I agree with that, man. And I think that they're just going to have to get that part figured out, and he's going to have to look at his staff. You look at guys that build these game plans. That was an awful game plan. And there's been certain games this year where they've had bad game plans, and then they haven't been able to adjust the game plan. And that's something that you have to be able to do to have success in the SEC. And so they're going to have to get that together, or things are just going to continue to look like they did this Saturday, which was just not good enough, not up to the Bama standard. All right, guys, look, we're going to take a break, and we come back. More Monday Quarterback right here on WNSP with Mick Gillispie and, of course, Jake Coker. Back on Monday Quarterback right here on WNSP with Jake Coker. I'm Mick Gillispie. Appreciate all of you guys for being part of our show today. And don't forget, as we talk Alabama football every Monday here on WNSP, brought to you by Sticks Tractor and Tree Service right there in Robertsdale. On my side of the bay. And I'll tell you what, we had some issues with trees at our house. Hunter and his crew came over and they took care of business. We had 13 water oaks that were damaged from Hurricane Sally. Every time you went outside, you were worried about a giant branch falling on your house or on your head. One time I was outside and I heard a big thump, and I'm even talking about a branch that would have killed my poor dog. It just fell randomly out of one of the trees. So we got the trees out. And it was a lot of work. He had to bring the big green machine in and delicately remove these 70 to 90 foot trees. But he did, and he did a great job. I got a great price on it. You guys, if you're in that business right now where you're looking, give those guys a call over at Sticks Tractor and Tree, 251-367-1081, or stickstreeservice.net. And you can look them up online as well. So appreciate them for being part of the show. All right, Jake, let's talk about this Alabama game. I know that it's painful, but we've got to do it. Looking at the stats right now, Bama 7 of 14 on third down, 0 of 2 on fourth down. They were only able to get 234 yards, only 164 yards passing. Oklahoma ran all over Alabama. They only threw for 68 yards. They ran for 257 yards. They were 7 of 15 and 1 of 1 on fourth, right? But the thing that bothers me, I guess, I don't think this is a good Oklahoma team. I think they have some good players. They've dealt with injuries. Brent Venables did a great job as a defensive coordinator, putting the game plan together. But Bama was just, to me, just beaten on effort and scheme and game plan. Jalen Milroe had just a horrendous game, and it really was hard to watch. 11 of 26 passing, 164 yards, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. He had constant pressure in his face.
3 touchdowns.
I'm sorry, 3 interceptions and no touchdowns. Let me reverse that. Yeah, just even worse than that. No, the other ones, 3 interceptions, no touchdowns. And Kalen DeBoer talked about it in the post-game press conference where he said, "Hey, we there were some missed passes. Somebody lost, I think it was Bernard lost a ball in the light, balls going through people's hands. But the pressure on him was constant, and he just can't seem to figure out what to do when he's under that kind of pressure. How did you handle it when you just had a bunch of guys at the line of scrimmage run at you?
I don't know. I mean, you just try to get the ball out as quickly as possible. I will say, when I was playing at Alabama, one of the biggest emphasis, one of the things that Coach Saban put the most emphasis on was not throwing interceptions. And, I watch, he throws that now to the receiver out wide. And of course, Herb Street says they have numbers, but that corner is just right there on him. And I mean, Kobe Prentice did a terrible job of getting in front of him and blocking him. He should have gotten it done. But when you're behind, you're digging your way out, but we were still in it at that point. I think we were down 10-3.
Yeah.
When you got a quick game route like that, or you're just getting the ball out right now, and you got a corner right there on top of him, even if you got a guy out there to block him, it just makes it tight. There's a lot of traffic right there. I hate to see that ball get thrown. There's too many bad things that can happen. I think it was like second down, and it was manageable at that point in the game. And then the pick six. Yeah, I think he kind of just predetermined that and didn't expect that flat player to get out there that wide that quickly, and didn't really look for him too much. But that the emphasis for Coach Saban for a quarterback when I was there, was just not throw interceptions. And I think sometimes make you play a little slower, just thinking about it too much. But at the same time, I do think we were better than Oklahoma, and had we been, it's hard to say that when you lose 24-3, but it was an odd game. I think if we, play a little more conservative style, play with what we're comfortable doing. I know we tried to run the ball, but we looked pretty ineffective throwing it in that mid-range, intermediate level as well. I'm kind of confusing myself as I speak here because we looked so just out of it. I don't know if we could have done anything Saturday night to win that ball game the way we were playing. Yeah. I mean, it just everything looked undisciplined. Everything looked sloppy. That's what you get when you get beat 24-3.
Yeah, right. Well, it's one of the worst losses that Alabama's had. I mean, what was it, like 2003, the last time Bama scored 3 points in a game? It wasn't even, I didn't even feel like they put up a competitive effort, and I hate to say that. But for this program to get back to where it was, it's not about winning every game, but you do have to go out there and have a competitive spirit. And like you said, in my words is I just didn't feel that, and Coach DeBoer said that, hey, they had a great week of practice. They seemed to be prepared, and all that stuff. They weren't prepared when it came to getting out on that field and playing on Saturday. And now, and we'll talk about this later on in the show, they get to go play an Auburn Tigers team that's coming off of a win against Texas A&M. And if they lose that game, it's not going to be a good offseason for Kalen DeBoer. Not in this state, not with a team you're playing one of the worst Auburn teams, and this is supposed to be a good Alabama team. We'll talk about that later, but I just worry, man. I worry about how you can't have a better game plan, how like a team could go out there and look that lackadaisical, man. I mean, it's just because we haven't seen that in such a long time. It's not about even the wins and losses, I said before, but I'm going back to some Shula days and Mike DuBois days games when Bama looked like that. I think probably Mike DuBois as head coach had some games where Bama just didn't show up, but it's been a long time.
Yeah, well, I mean, we had some of those games in 2015, but thankfully our defense, people just didn't score on our defense. I mean, we had 9 new starters on offense. We were allowed to have some rough games early on because we had a defense that that stopped the other team very consistently. You know, I mean, you weren't on the sideline long as an offense, and it really helped us along and stay in the playoff hunt until we really figured each other out there, 75% of the way through the year. When you have 2 interceptions, 1 pick six, 1 give it back to them I think they had it like the 10-yard line or something like that, 20-yard line. And they got a touchdown on that one too. I mean, it's very hard to overcome. If you're turning the ball over on offense, especially in your own territory, just makes it creates a huge struggle, and there's not much the defense can do to help you. And I'm not saying the defense played great, but outside of those 2 turnovers, they only score 10 points, and it just puts them in a bad position. And when you get on offense, when you start turning the ball over like that, and you're playing from behind, the game plan sometimes goes out the window when you're calling out of desperation. And we just looked like a deer in headlights out there as soon as things started going downhill. I mean, it looked sloppy at first, and then after that, it just looked like, again, that deer in the headlights look where we're just trying to throw things together and figure out a way to claw back into this game.
Great point. All right, we're going to talk about the new top 25 that's out and Bama's playoff chances. More of Monday Quarterback right after this. Glad to have you guys hanging out with us here on WNSP. Monday Quarterback. We do this show every Monday from noon to 1 right here locally on the Sound of Mobile, right? He's Jay Coker. I'm Mick Gillispie. Monday Quarterback. We're recapping Alabama's 24-3 loss to Oklahoma. And Jake, you got, I guess your dad chimed in on this, and I can't wait we should just get him in studio.
Well, the funny thing is on Friday or Saturday, we were doing the pregame show, and I was talking about how much my dad hates Notre Dame,
Yeah.
And so my daughter's sick, and my dad I'm watching the game, trying to get her down. I'm watching the game by myself, and I'm texting my dad back and forth during the game, and at some point I'm like, what is going on? And he goes, "This is the strangest Bama team I've ever seen. They're either great or awful. I hope we adjust." So how we're talking about teams that he hated on last Saturday.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll wake up. I hate it when Oklahoma beats us. They're one of my most hated teams. Notre Dame, Texas, USC, Ohio State, Oklahoma. Worse than I hate Auburn.
Well, tell Bryant speak for himself.
I was like, "Hey, Dad, how about you just text me the teams you like instead? That'll be."
That's so funny. Yeah, that's pretty much everybody. Everybody in the top 25.
I know. Hey, he's been alive for a long time.
Yeah, still hanging in there. Still looks great too. Look, yep, very young looking dad. So here's the new top 25 that came out. AP and coaches. Bama falls 6 spots to number 13, which puts them still in the mix for the college football playoff. So it's Oregon, Ohio State, Texas, Penn State, and Notre Dame. Then Georgia is up to number 6, Tennessee number 7, Miami number 8, SMU number 9, Indiana number 10, Boise State 11, Clemson 12, and then you got Arizona State behind Bama, Ole Miss behind them. So there you go. That's the top 15. But Bama's number 13 right now in both of those. Now the new college football playoff ranking will come out on Tuesday night, so we got to wait a day for that. But what I will tell you is that the ESPN playoff predictor still has Alabama at 37% to make it. So, I mean, that's that's still a lot better than Lloyd Christmas said. So you're saying there's a chance? Look, 37%. I mean, there's some bad teams ahead of them, right? SMU could lose. Boise State could lose. I mean, maybe not bad teams, but losable teams. Miami could lose. Tennessee, who knows? Vandy could get them. I mean, there's no telling what could happen ahead of Alabama. So do you think that there's a chance? Do you think that they could get in at 37% right now?
No, I don't. I mean,
thanks, pal. Thanks. Everybody turn off the radio. He says we're not.
I hate to say that.
The answer's yes.
You lose 24-3, man. It just makes it tough. Especially, I mean, the playoff selection committee, they took a lot of heat last year. I'm sure they're not looking to put a 3-loss Bama team in there, after what happened last year. But I don't know, man. I think it's time. Our guys just need to figure out how to play to a standard without any of the outside factors affecting their play. Guys just gotta grow up here. You got no choice. I mean, there's still a chance, but do I think it's going to happen? No, but you never know until the season's over. So
right.
Again, it's just after watching that game Saturday, man, that was such a letdown. I hated seeing it, hated it for those guys, hated it for Jalen. But you know what? It's the guys on the field's fault. You got to show up, you got to play. Doesn't matter who you're playing, and at the same time, man, you get to go to Oklahoma and play. That's a big game for anybody. I don't care who you are, and I don't know. Just showing up like that was very disappointing.
Mm-hmm. Our friend, the late great Big Sexy Elmo, once said, "What in the name of Mike Shula is going on around here?" Look, Coach DeBoer is going to be under a lot of heat if Alabama doesn't show up against Auburn, and I guess this is a good time to kind of change gears here because this is the game.
Hang on, Coach DeBoer. I know, I get it. Everybody's going to be upset, but it is the first year, and I do think, given the circumstances, the mass exodus as soon as he got there, putting a team together. I mean, I was surprised we had a team with the talent that we have, and that speaks volumes of him working and getting it done. I mean, you look back at, we've made the Harsin jokes before. I mean, I don't know if that's, in this day and age, I don't know if that's happening with some other coaches coming in here and scrambling to put together a roster in a short amount of time. And you can say that we still have Malachi Moore, we still have Dylan Milroe, we still have Booker. There's no doubt we had guys that stuck around that are very good, but you still got to have 22 guys and solid guys at each position to win a national championship or to make a playoff run. It's just, you have to. I don't care if you've got a few really good players, a few guys that may be looking at All-American status, but you got to have players everywhere, and you got to have solid guys that know what they're doing and can be effective on Saturdays. And I think he did a good job of putting a team together that quickly and making it happen to be on the cusp of a playoff berth.
I'm not going to argue with you unless we lose next week to Auburn. Okay. I mean, it's going to be hard to walk around the streets of this beautiful state. And even me over here in Fairhope, which, by the way, last night, when it was downtown Fairhope, got a guy out there playing Christmas music with a piano and what was that thing? A trumpet? Saxophone. Thanks, Robbie. And, and I'm thinking, what a great place to live, except if Auburn beats Alabama. And they came from behind at the end of the game to beat Texas A&M. They won in 3 overtimes. They come to Tuscaloosa, and you're not going to believe this. You tell me this, Jake. How is Alabama in some places a 14-plus point favorite in this game?
I'm happy to hear that.
Let me just pull this up because I know that you are besides working in the insurance industry, you are one of the best handicappers in the entire southern states.
Yeah, since you say that, I want last.
It's okay. It's 11.5 points. Bama's 11.5 point favorite according to ESPN, because I think when it came out at like 13, everybody people were like, "Whoa, I'll take that. I'll take that right now. Give me that 52.5 is the over under." It's like, look, I get it. Auburn's 5-6 and 2-5, but after that performance last week, I just can't even imagine Alabama being more than a touchdown favorite over anybody.
Yeah, Oklahoma beat Auburn by less than they beat us. What's the hang on before we go to that? What's the line on the Texas A&M game?
Let's see here. Pull that up. Are you gonna weave some of your magic right now? And
I'm just gonna tell you. I mean, I'll tell you if my claim last weekend had any validity, which is Auburn's going to beat Texas A&M, and then A&M's going to beat Texas, which mattered prior to that Oklahoma game.
Texas is on the road a 5.5 point favorite, so a home dog. Texas A&M 48.5 is the over under.
I would have liked Texas at 2.5.
Really?
I mean, I would have liked A&M at 2.5. That have made me feel more comfortable about the bet.
Okay. Well, Bama's a favorite. Auburn, they had their best game of the season, and they rushed the field after the game.
Man, there's a new I don't know. Back in the 90s, were they rushing the field as much as they do now?
No.
Not Auburn specifically, but
just anywhere. I know what you're talking about. Yeah, not it happened, but not like this that I remember. Although I've rushed the field a few times when I was at Maryland games.
Man, I feel like I saw 4 or 5 fields rushed this weekend.
Oh, I know. And it's like some of these games you're like, are you kidding me?
I mean, Arizona State was favored over BYU, I think, and they rushed the field.
Yeah, they were.
I don't know. Vandy, I get that. I mean, those guys, that was all-time victory for Vandy over us. I get that one 100%. It's like, I mean, what, LSU rushing the field after they beat Ole Miss a few years ago? I mean, or no, this year.
Yeah. Yep. So
crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. But Bama's going to have to stop the run, man. I mean, and that to me is a big time issue for this team is stopping the run. And I worry about this matchup with Auburn. And then the other thing too is that the good thing for Alabama is that they have bounced back when they have had these letdown games. But this one's different, man. I mean, I worry about Coach DeBoer being ready for this Iron Bowl. I mean, this is the game, and it's hard for first year coaches to come in even with the better team and win it.
Well, we're going to find out if this team has a lot of leadership, has a lot of pride. Are we packing it in and calling it a season, or making a statement against Auburn and at least trying to salvage the history of this season as much as possible and try to cling on to that last bit of life, playoff life.
Mm-hmm.
Again, 37% chance. Man, it's better than what Ole Miss's was after I saw they lost to Florida. You got one more game left. We're out of the. Hey, you've been trying to keep us out of the SEC championship all year. Looks like you got your wish, and then we may sneak into 12 if everything goes our way.
Yeah, but I'll tell you what. Let's win this one.
Yeah, that's
right. We'll talk Iron Bowl when we come back. Final segment of Monday Quarterback here on WNSP right after this. Welcome back to Monday Quarterback here on WNSP with Jake Coker. I'm Mick Gillispie. And guys, I want to remind you a couple things. The first is that the two of us get together with our crew to do the Bama Tailgate show. That is every Saturday right here on WNSP 9 to 11. So we preview Alabama. We look around the conference. We talk football. We have a great time. And we want you guys to make sure that you tune in for the show. Or if you're going to be in Tuscaloosa on Friday, we actually have the show recording at Innisfree this week. We'll be there from 1 to 4 o'clock. So Bama Tailgate on YouTube. And then the two of us also are on the Cover Crimson YouTube channel. And we do a show called Elephant in the Room, a podcast on there. So more Jake Coker and Mick Gillispie. If you guys didn't get enough of us here on this Monday morning, and I'm sure that you if you're Alabama fans, you're probably looking forward to turning the page and focusing on the next game. And I think that we're kind of right there with you. So here we go, Jake. It's time to officially get into Alabama and Auburn. We talked about it a little bit last segment, but this game worries me because of Auburn's ability to run the football, and Bama struggles to stop the run.
Well, it just depends on which Alabama team shows up this weekend. I mean, we got a load this weekend. His name, Jarquez Hunter?
Yep.
I mean, he's one of the best backs I've seen all year, and I watched that A&M game last night or Saturday night. That guy, I mean, he's unbelievable. He's going to be tough to stop. And Peyton Thorne, I mean, he doesn't look like a crazy athlete, but he's more than capable. He's just like that quarterback from Oklahoma that we just played. So we got our hands full, and they also are going to have a few more receivers than what we saw against Oklahoma as well. I know they got a couple really good freshmen, and they got some youth on defense, but those guys played pretty well also. They played a guy that could run the ball, could throw the ball. And the Texas A&M quarterback, they played. That was the first full game I've seen them play. Now they did blow a 21-0 lead. I thought they were going to give it away and have the same outcome as what they've usually had all year, but we're able to hang in there. Offensively, we I know we rely on Jalen Milroe. I mean, he's basically, if he plays well, we win. If he plays bad, we don't. And it's kind of unfair. He's got that much responsibility, but you got to do what you got to do each Saturday, and he's got to be able to establish the run. He's got to be able to get the ball completed. I'm tired of seeing. I know he's trying to do the best he can and what he's supposed to do, but if you need to get out of that pocket, get out of that pocket. You're most dangerous on your feet. You get moving, you get the ball out after creating a little time, extending plays, do it. He's just got to do whatever makes him most comfortable, because a lot of times I feel like he's not feeling that rush, and it's caused interceptions, fumbles, and really costly turnovers. So he's got to figure that out, and we can't turn the ball over on Saturday.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I was trying to tell young Robbie, we'll call him Trey Michael III. He's in here right here. He's in here. My nephew, he's a junior at Alabama, about the Iron Bowl, because until you walk out there and feel that Iron Bowl energy, Jake, and to the audience, Robbie's down here for Thanksgiving, and jumping on here. It's hard to explain. It is electric. Would you agree with that? Tell me what it was like for you walking on the field for the first time in the Iron Bowl.
Yeah, man, it's wild. This is going to be the first Iron Bowl where, there's really, most likely there's not a whole lot of national weight to it, but just the in-state rivalry, the in-state hate. My senior year, we played at Auburn, and it was kind of similar to this Saturday if we were going to the playoff this year. That place is loud. It was, kind of barbaric over there. They're just, yelling at you, screaming whatever they can. to distract you or ruin your day and get you out of focus. But, it's a game. Everybody circles. It's the day after Thanksgiving. Everybody's got time to watch. Everybody's got time to be involved. And there's no better finale to the season than the Iron Bowl.
Yeah, no doubt. Rob, you got a question for Jake about the Iron Bowl?
I mean, I think Jake has a little, he's already put Bama out of the running. He's saying this game's not really going to be important. I mean, I think if we get this important win, it's only going to take a few teams slipping up, and we're right there.
Well, we better make a statement.
Yeah,
I mean,
good point.
Again, you look at us. You look at us one week, we look like we're going to be tap dancing all the way to the playoff, and then one week you're like, man, we may struggle against Auburn.
Yeah.
I mean, I just don't know which team to believe in right now.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you hope that you get better officials. I mentioned that we would talk about the call. I've only been watching football for, I don't know, 40 some years. That's the worst call I've ever seen in my life. The officiating it's got to get better. It's so bad.
Man, well, the problem with that one is, I mean, I don't know if that was a deciding factor in the game, but it definitely ended our chances of winning.
Yeah, it was over.
Like, I don't know if we were gonna come back, but we had no chance after that.
That was complete garbage. All right.
I mean, I texted my dad when it happened. He had recorded it, so he was behind me. I said, I've just witnessed the worst penalty I've ever seen in my life. I've never seen anything like that before.
Yeah.
That was that costly.
So bad.
Yeah. I don't know how that's possible. I don't know how you.
I don't either. But I'll tell you what.
I don't know what he was seeing, what the thought process was there. I mean, unless I'm confused by something, I mean, the SEC has to explain something there.
That was so bad.
Heck, they did this. They had I mean, it wasn't as bad as what they did to Alabama, but what they did to Auburn in overtime.
It's some of these penalties. The officiating's got to get better. It really does. So just hope that the officiating's good as we close up the show here.
And look, I don't know. I mean, I'm not passing judgment on these referees.
I am. They stink.
When you watch that Auburn pass interference, I mean, to me, to throw a flag there, you don't really understand what the pick play is or how a player executes a pick play illegally in order to throw that flag. I mean, he is obviously avoiding the traffic, and guys are just getting mixed up, in a mesh route. And there's no deliberate pick there. He's just trying to get around the traffic. And I don't know, it just blows my mind. These flags get thrown with no real, to me, understanding of what the goal is for the team running the routes, or if there's any bad intent there, if that makes any sense.
It does. Well, look, this was fun. We got back together again on WNSP, Monday quarterback. And this is the last regular season game for Jay Coker and Trey Michael. I'm Mick Gillispie. Thanks for hanging out with us, guys. And Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.